So we'll get back to you in a second, but be patient if you can. It's been a hectic couple of months in Australian politics. We know that. We've covered some of that in the program today. And can you believe that the Turnbull government's been in office now for over a month? And it certainly seems like a lifetime ago that Bronwyn Bishop was under fire for taking a private helicopter, which ended up seeing her arrive for a party function. And all of a sudden, people started focusing on parliamentary entitlements. And we've raised it again today because the politicians won't. They got into a truce. Oh, we can't mention this because it's a stain on both sides, so we won't mention it again. But it hasn't left your radar. And that's certainly the response from over 50s when those at the 50UP Club asked for some feedback on parliamentary entitlements. Now, the general consensus is that when it comes to the age of entitlement, change needs to start with politicians. Hear, hear, which is purely and only and simply my point with Joe Hockey going to Washington. Well, today a group of 50UP Club members will meet Christopher Zinn at Parliament House to present their submission into the review that's going on officially. And I've got him in our parliamentary office right now in our studio. Chris, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Chris. And in fact, I've just met them, so the submission's ready to go in.
Right. So how many submissions did you receive? And give us a little bit of a rundown on what people were saying.
Well, look, we did this cost of living campaign survey, and we asked for comments on that. But actually, a vast number of comments were about this entitlements issue. So that's what gave us the real meat to put into the submission we put in. So there's some 20,000 responses.
Brilliant.
Of which I should say there were many hundreds, if not thousands, particularly about entitlements. So yes, a lot of anger, and I think more particularly disappointment with the system.
Yeah, and the hypocrisy that we hear. Now, forget about what we discussed with Joe Hockey today, but in the past we've had too many examples of parliamentary entitlements being included in primarily party engagements, right?
Yes, and one of them that's come up is in terms of all the mail-outs that go on, and that really comes to a peak when an election campaign is on. Look, politicians do need to travel. They do need to stay in hotels. There is a cost of them doing business. But in terms of the members, they just, I think, want more explanation, more transparency, less excess, and particularly around superannuation, I think a better explanation because, you know, we've seen superannuation being targeted. Goodness knows what the new Turnbull administration will be doing around superannuation. Yet at the same time, people see what they believe is an over-generous super system.
And not only over-generous, but the fact that they can get access to it before they officially retire, but only when they retire from politics. Now, the same can't be had for normal people in the workplace.
Exactly, and this is, I would say it's that not, the term fair go was used over and over again in terms of the submissions that people sent us about this issue. Yeah. And as I've said, in terms of their disappointment, there was a man, Gordon, who was actually outside Parliament House we met here, and he was a very good example of this. He said, look, I paid all my bills, I went without holidays to save up with super. Now they've changed the pension eligibility. I'm actually a loser as a result, and I feel fairly powerless. And I suppose that's the point of 50UP Club. One reason is get people together so we can actually push this message back to the decision makers that people over 50, 1 in 3 Australians, are by no means a pushover.
So of the 20,000 pieces of feedback you've got, you put it in a major report or submission. And where will that go today in terms of the official review?
Yeah, so there is an independent review being undertaken. This was launched by Tony Abbott a couple of months ago. Those submissions closed today. There's no days, as far as I've seen, in terms of when they'll come out, but I think that they were particularly keen on hearing about community sentiment, and I think that they would have that in spades from the 50UP people. And it's not all a negative stream. It is just asking for some reasonable ideas in terms of, why is it so different? Can you justify this? We've paid that. And the one thing, people, we all argue a lot, 87%, and this is of the 20,000 people who did the survey, believe politicians were out of touch. Well, I think what we offer as a group like this is a way for politicians to get in touch in terms of what ordinary people, albeit of one particular age demographic, think and want to happen.
All right. Well said. I'll let you get out of there and go and hold that press conference you've got planned for 1:30. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Christopher Zinn from 50UP Club. See, this is how your feedback through that 50UP Club and the growing number of people that are joining it, how it directly can impact on those who have to make the decisions. There's a link now today, and Chris Zinn will present that to that official review, and he'll go and spread the word further to other members of the press and the gallery around Parliament House at 1:30 this afternoon as well. So it's not just about getting a better deal on things that you have to pay for, like electricity and gas, etc. It's about having your say heard.